exploration this evening, going in an unknown direction, and let's see whether we can take any difficulty problem offered and raise the level of it, as they call it, anagogically, on its highest level. And so we try it. All right?
I have lost my keys.
I have lost my keys. Ah.
I don't know where to find them.
Simple. Right?
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah, it would seem simple. The problem is that I have an irrational reaction to losing the keys. The keys. My first reaction was that I had perhaps left them in the outside door where somebody could have seen them and taken them. And that's usually where my mind goes. I always try to come up with the worst possible scenario and then work back from there. And then I remembered that the door had been unlocked when I came in the house, so I knew that I had not used the keys. So they have to be in the house where I can find them. And still, the fact that I've lost them in the first place causes me a lot of, it makes me feel like a bad person. And that bad in that I'm out of control of my life, and that when I start feeling this way, or start feeling out of control, that's when I start losing things and forgetting things, and just not able to keep track of my stuff. And I haven't had that in a long time. I mean, that was a regular pattern for me, always. And I'd say for the last year or so, 2 years, I haven't had much. I haven't lost anything, and I haven't felt this lack of connection. And so when it happened tonight, just it's rearing its ugly head again. I think brought on a lot of oh God, I've slipped back. I'm back into this insanity.
Splendid.
I'm surprised I was able to articulate that.
It's interesting that you go to the worst case and then you work back. And so as you did this, I presume you found your keys. Still lost at this point?
Still lost at this point.
Okay.
And that was having to leave the house without knowing where they were yet was very difficult for me. And it caused the drive over here to be tense and fighting against traffic instead of just going with the flow and getting upset at people.
It's a very interesting judgment, isn't it? To have lost the keys means you're a bad person and out of control. Means you're not keeping track of yourself. When you reach that state and say those kinds of words, what kind of state of mind would you describe that as?
You mean like a state of low self-esteem? Angry?
What kind of anger?
Self-anger?
What kind? Like, what could you do in that state?
I could harm myself either verbally,
Or put yourself in such a state that you might put yourself
endanger myself.
in, at least in a condition where you're not as secure with yourself as in driving. Right? I'd like to use 4 ideas. Right? 4. First is there is some act. In this case, lost my keys. That's an act. Something happens. Then notice what we do. Right? It's like, I want to use 3 expressions. We then tell ourselves, but we tell ourselves with such vividness that it impresses itself upon us. Right? It is very impressive. Therefore, we can say, when we tell ourselves someone may have taken them, worst case, right? Now I'm moving here. To have lost them means I'm a bad person out of control. We tell ourselves, right? I'll change it, right? We judge ourselves. We pass judgment upon ourselves. As if we're writing in our own soul. All right, that's what I call the book. Right? It's like in our own souls we're writing this. But it has a certain image too. Like, what kind of bad person? But you could draw that. What kind of a person? Come on. So now this is the painter. Right, this is the painter that's now going to paint the image of ourselves. Okay, what kind of image? It means I've lost them, I'm a bad person, I'm out of control. What kind of a person? Give me a picture. Caricature. Okay, make that up.
Caricature would be hair everywhere.
Good. It's so easy for me to draw that. Right.
Mouth wide open. Yes. Yeah. Big eyes.
Big what?
Eyes.
Ah. More. Come on. Come on.
juvenile.
Juvenile, kid,
Yeah.
right? Juvenile. How old?
8 or 9.
8 or 9. Now, would you not agree, while we write this in our souls and we create that picture of ourselves, it's also accompanies a song, music, right? There's a, which I want to call the kind of the atmosphere, right? Now, that, I'm going to call that the musician in us, right? We then score it. Right, there we go, we score it. Right? Right, what piece of music could go along with it?
Oh, God. Stravinsky.
Yeah, Stravinsky, right. Rites of Spring, something.
Exactly.
Right, now look here. This is what we do, see? This is what we do in our own soul, as it were, right? This is what we do. Mind or soul, I prefer the word soul, because mind can be used in other ways, but just for convention, we'll call it mind. And now, what's interesting is that this comes in with such intensity that it has a duration, doesn't it? And therefore, it has a time. Has a time to it. It seems to have particular acts to it that unfolds. We have a certain drama that can play itself out consistent with this. And what we really want to know is, where do we get the drama? Why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? Oh, we do it against ourselves. We create our own suffering. Oh, what are we doing? Where does it come from? Now, can you tell us, therefore, a little more about what happened after you call yourself a bad person? And you're not keeping track of yourself. What happened then?
I try to get back into a more proper frame of mind and tell myself, don't be irrational, don't be insane. Even at the worst case, even if you really lost your keys and you never find them, they're all replaceable. It's silly to beat yourself up over this. It's a fixable problem at its very worst.
You then argue against the drama. Right? So, here we have what we need. We add time and the various stages of it, and then we argue against the drama.
But the drama always comes back.
Yeah. So then, within us, therefore, is a dialogue. Or, we might call it by a better name, argument. And now you're see, what does the dialogue do? Challenges that. It challenges it. You give yourself advice. All right, come on, let's do it. Come on. Advice.
Comforts. it tries to calm down. It calms.
Calm down. Calm down.
Because I think if I calm down, maybe I'll be able to find my keys. You know, to help with the solution. I mean, the part of me that argues against the drama is aware that the reaction is irrational, and I think that it's scared. This scares me. This drama thing. It scares me.
Scares me to think that
it's like a tempest. It's just in there, and it still has such control. You know.
Mm-hmm. It's good. It's good. It's good. Mm-hmm. It's a occasion for great intensity, isn't it? This plays itself out very intensely, and in it is also a solution. You also have a solution to it. You're in the problem, you also have a solution, don't you? You have a strategy. Yeah, yeah. If I can only calm down, then I'll be able to find it. I have a solution too. Yeah. But it has to start with an act. Right? It has to start with some action, which in this case is lost my keys.
Mm-hmm. But yes, the action starts it, but there seems to also be that the losing of my keys in the drama it sets off is part of that, is that losing my keys is emblematic of something bigger that has come to be and is working in the background, and that by the time I've lost the keys is just an eruption from that. And this sounds so irrational.
Good. Put that in words.
It's just it's like, oh God, how big is this thing? How I don't know it. I don't know how big and how strong this thing has gotten this time. You know, there have been signs of tension over the last week or so, and the keys. I guess the keys are significant to me because it's just been so long since I've lost my keys and
Or played out this drama.
or played out this drama. Yeah.
2 years, maybe. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of connects you with the past that you thought was over. And the power of it. In terms of your own past, that is beyond 2 years, how would you rank this episode as compared with the others that you've had of a similar nature?
It's not as insane as some of the others. However, this one, I think, is significant to me because it comes in light of some self-awareness that wasn't there
Previously. Yeah.
Right. There's a humbling factor to it, which I don't know is part of the "you're a bad person" drama. It's like you're never going to escape me. This is who you are. It's like it's my, oh God, I'm not going to say that.
Got it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
It's my legacy.
My legacy.
It is.
See, as you reflect more, you're turning the page. Look here. See? You're turning the page. Therefore, you're going to create another picture with its own sound and with its own play. See, this is a drama we're playing on. You could literally put it on the stage with music. You could assign people roles. Yeah. What am I going to ask about it?
You're going to ask me if I've ever had this. Tell you about one of my previous.
Oh. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, no. What were you going to ask?
I like that.
I don't.
What age am I going to go for?
8 or 9.
By heavens, right you are. Right? Why 8 or 9? Well, because we listened, she gave it to us. All right, just go ahead.
Oh God, I don't want to go back there.
New color. There I was.
It was one of the most embarrassing things that ever happened to me. I was 8 or 9, and my father was in the military, so we moved around. I went to a lot of schools. I guess I was in the 3rd grade. This was a school I hadn't been to very long, and I was only going to be there for about 6 months anyway. My parents, because we were only going to be there for a short time, we were living in an apartment. And I would walk to school. This was in Sunnyvale, California. I would walk to school, and my mother showed up one day at school and said that she wasn't going to be home when I got there, so she came to give me the key to the house. This is really where the humor part comes in.
Go ahead. Great. Go ahead.
Oh, God.
And she gives
So anyway,
you...
so she gives me the key key to the house, and she says, don't lose it.
Give me her state of mind.
Oh, I don't even know. I was pretty distracted.
Okay, don't lose it.
I was always distracted when I was a kid. But anyway, she said, don't lose it. Put it in a safe place. And this was right before lunch, or at lunch, I can't remember, but it was around lunchtime. So I had my lunch, and as I was, so I had my lunch, and we had to go through the line where you threw your tray away and threw all the dishes away. And after I left the cafeteria or the eating area, I reached down to check in my pocket where I put the key, but it was gone. And I went into a full-on panic, which is what I always do. I just went into this big panic, and I couldn't find it, so I was convinced, that I'd thrown it away with the food. So I went back to the cafeteria, and there was a nice lady who was the monitor, and I said, I've lost the key to the house, and my mother is the only key, and she told me not to lose it, and I've lost it. And I think I threw it away. And this woman was like, without even any hesitation, just dives into the garbage and starts pulling all these trays out, and she's looking for my key, and I mean, with just total abandon, not even, she was just on a mission. And so while she's going through her garbage, I'm kind of looking around for the key, and I'm looking under tables and chairs, and I realized that the outfit that I have on has got a tunic with 2 pockets, and I've got little pants that go with them with these 2 other patch pockets that are under the tunic. And I reach into the pants pocket, and there's the key. And I had only been looking into the tunic pocket. So I had to go back and tell that woman, who's now elbow deep in trash and food garbage, that I had the key all along. And she laughed. I mean, she took it really well, but I was mortified that I had gone into a full panic, assumed the worst, and people had acted upon my worst assumption. And it was just me being stupid.
Yeah. Just repeat that last 2 sentences, or last sentence.
It was just me.
You were astonished that someone would, go ahead.
That she
Someone would take what I said. Go ahead.
She would take what I told her to be.
Go ahead.
To be real, to be what was true.
Without what?
Without any hesitation, without even, questioning it.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell anybody about that for a real long time. I didn't tell my mother about it. I mean, at 8 or 9, I had sworn myself to the grave on this one. I wasn't going to tell anybody. And so when I lose my keys now, in the fury of the whole drama that's played out in my head, that's what I see. I go back to that. And there's a couple of others. There's another one, but that's it. That's the one.
Okay. All right. Now you're able to plug into this memory. All right. Next up, without which you're not out. Why do we have to reflect? Come on. Why do we have to reflect on this? Because you have to discover something important, and that is that you're applying something you learned, and that's why you have the problem. Okay? What are you doing? You're applying something you learned, and now you see the impact of it outside of the house. That's why these scenes are so important. All right, what is it? There's something that went on, see? There's something went on in the house. Here it is. Or earlier, most often in the house. You're applying it here. If this didn't go on, you wouldn't have walked away with the problem. Okay, you say it. Let's see how you would say it. If it weren't for, try it again.
If it weren't for something that I had learned earlier in my home, this particular incident with the lady in the garbage, it wouldn't have had the impact
Right, okay.
that it did.
That's right. Now we have to prove that. You and I, we have to prove that.
Okay.
Only from the data. Right? You stay with the logos. You stay with the words. Right? Okay. Say, in terms of this story, 8-year-old story with that woman, was that a victory or a defeat? Was that a failure or a success?
It was a failure.
Success.
How so?
How did the woman take it?
She laughed. She laughed hard. She thought it was hysterical.
Yeah. And you found the keys.
And I found the key.
And you found the keys.
Yeah.
And she had to laugh at herself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what is it you concluded that caused such a turmoil in your soul? That someone would take what I told or what I said to be real without any questions. Ah, that's an interesting statement, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So, wait a minute. How did you then take the blame? You took the blame for this, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, if it weren't for me, she wouldn't have had a garbage.
Well, is she upset?
No, because she's a good person, and she has a good sense of humor.
And she realized that she goofed, didn't she? She was, yeah, I should have asked her questions. She laughed, wasn't she? She was having a good laugh. It was in your pocket all along.
Well, yeah, but the onus would be on me to have, she probably assumed that I would have checked my pockets before I told her that they were gone, I threw them away.
No doubt about it. Therefore, whose problem was it? Thank you. Whose problem was it then?
It was my problem.
Pardon me. Whose problem was it from what you just concluded?
I'm sorry, I'll have to do it again because
We'll do it
I
again.
think it up with me.
Well, what did you say she should have done?
She naturally assumed. I mean,
Thank you.
what?
She naturally assumed. Did you have a reflection that you told us about right here?
Yeah.
What's that?
She took what I told her. Why else would I tell her that if it weren't real?
I certainly agree with you in part. In terms of your own awareness, what does that statement mean? I was astonished. I was surprised that someone would take what I told them to be real without...
Without question.
Look here, is this seeing something? What would you call this? Is that an insight? See?
Yes.
You're looking at her, right? And you're saying, oh my gosh. How was your seeing at that moment?
Yes. Turn back over myself.
How did what happen? How did what happen?
How did that come out of there? that statement.
I didn't make it up.
No, I know. That's pretty amazing.
At this point then, who's responsible? I didn't hear you.
Well,
Go ahead. What happened? By the way, do you think she may have learned from this?
yes.
To do what?
When an 8-year-old tells you that they threw their keys away to make sure that they're not in their pockets.
Or 18? So therefore, what kind of a judgment is this you're making at 8 years old? Whose problem is it?
It's hers. But doesn't that,
You do say, do you not, that she would have learned from this and it wouldn't happen again?
I hope so, yes.
Yeah, I would too. I would too. If not, what would we say about her? Yeah, yeah.
But, okay, I have a question then. Would my, I don't even know how to phrase it. Would my perception of that woman cause me to act out in a way where I wouldn't want to be caught in that position? I mean, to be distrustful or skeptical or not take things told to me.
Oh.
I mean, this.
Well, you wouldn't want all those qualities. Why not curiosity?
I'm lost here.
No, that wouldn't be curiosity, would it?
What?
You wouldn't want to be like what? Do it again.
I'm saying with having seen what this woman did,
Yes.
I think that
Mm-hmm.
I would make sure that I didn't get caught. You know, in my mind, she got caught. She got
Yes,
she got
caught.
stung by me,
Mm-hmm.
by my stupidity and my lack of control.
Oh, all those things. Huh? Lack of control. Yeah, okay.
And I think that
No.
I feel like we're getting off on
No,
another.
I totally agree with you. Therefore, she can't be blamed, can she? She can't share any part of the story. In the sense that she's not responsible. I mean, you can't say she's responsible
No, of
for
course
anything.
she's responsible.
No.
No, I'm
yes,
not
yes,
saying-
yes, yes. No. What?
No, you're right.
What?
That she's responsible for this part.
Oh, really now?
For her part in it, yes.
Oh.
Yes, I see that.
Oh. And she saw it too.
Yes, she did, and that's why she laughed, because she
Yeah.
she saw that-
Success then?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, it's a successful story.
Yes.
It's a success. It's not a failure. Now, what did you do with it? It's in that judgment, you see,
Yeah.
that someone would take what I
Yes.
said to be real. Oh my gosh. What does that mean? Someone would take what I said to be real. Is that when you took the blame?
Yes.
All right, you say it.
Yes. That's why.
Try that expression. Now look here, when I'm doing that, I'm back here. Right? I'm going for the words,
Right.
I'm going for the image, I'm going for the sound. To see if we can get another drama. Okay. Say, could you say that again?
What the.
Yeah, there you are, 8 years old, you come to this statement, go ahead. What is it you come to?
That I was at fault because she took what I told her to be real.
Yeah. Yeah, you saw that, right? Gosh, yeah. And if anybody does that, then you're responsible.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Right. Where do you think you picked that idea up? Curious expression, isn't it? See, now we need naming. We have to, if we can get it, to name what this means. A simple name. What do you call someone who does that?
Someone, a liar?
A liar. Oh. Oh, is there something about that at home?
Yeah, I'm
What?
sure that came up.
Huh?
I'm sure that came up.
How? Stay with that phrase, stay with the name, stay with the phrase, stay with the name, all right? You were shocked to discover, were you not, that someone would take what I told them to be real?
But it's, I mean, to lie is so, it has such a deliberate connotation to it.
Yeah.
Mine is, I don't see it so much, this particular statement is not so much lying as it is, well, yes, there's a lie element to it, but it's not knowing what is real, and acting as if I do.
All right, go ahead. All that emotional picture that you brought to that woman, right? See? It's acting as if I do know.
You know, reaching, I reached this rash, erroneous conclusion. I went to the worst possible scenario and played that as real. And it was like once I had decided, or once it came to my mind, they could be in the trash, I didn't even stop and explore other possibilities. I acted on that thing, that particular one.
On the worst case. Yeah. That's interesting. I wonder who else does that, you know.
My mother does it.
No.
Yeah.
Really? Could you just give me a little scene where that might?
Um, for as long as I can remember, my mother was very young when she had me, and I've been her confidant since I was probably about 5 or so. But she was convinced that my father was unfaithful to her, and was always acting on that.
Was that the best or the worst case scenario?
It was the worst case.
Worse, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, from 5 on, right? She made you into this.
She brought me into all of it.
All of this.
All of her.
And you had to hear this, right? And,
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we go back to the expressions and see whether or not the expressions match with greater precision the mother than yourself. Is that what she does? She really, go ahead, read it.
Yes. Yeah. She never had all the facts.
And yet, what is she doing?
But she would reach that conclusion and decide and act as if that was the case.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right.
And created all the drama.
And created
that would
all the
go
drama.
along with that,
Yeah.
as if it really
Right.
were true.
Then, well, you were surprised to discover, therefore, that what were you doing?
I was caught up in her,
I was caught up in her.
and I went along with it, and of course I never questioned it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. All right. See, there's an absolutely great principle that every child has. They're going to convince themselves again and again and again about just one truth, and that will be they'll never be like them. I'll never do it. They did it. I'm not going to do it. And therefore, it inevitably comes as a great shock to discover that you're it, and you're doing it. And you're trapped. Okay, I want to make a principle here, a strange principle. Here it comes, right? What we tolerate or tolerated from those we loved go ahead. We cannot help doing ourselves until we challenge it. Ideally, to be able to go back to them and talk to them about it. Ideally. Hey Mom, I'd like to talk to you about what happened to me from 5 to 8. What would it be like talking to her about this?
She goes into...
She'll do it right in front of you.
She'll blame herself, and
See, all of that time from 5 to 8, you tolerated her saying all of these things about your father. You already indicated that there was a lot of information that she lacked. She was only working on a few pieces of evidence.
But I didn't know that then.
Well, you knew that you were being put into a certain role,
Yes.
and you certainly knew what that meant. That's very uncomfortable because she's driving a wedge between you and your father,
Yes.
right? You know that. So what we tolerate, we live. Until we can challenge it, find a way to challenge it. Either with them, or if not, from someone most close to them, similar most closely to them. Now, there is no problem that anyone has ever had that you can say that you understand unless you know the last piece. All right? Why did it occur when it did? In the present. So, this pulled you back. See, this pulled you back. Oh my God, I realize I'll never escape. This is whom you are. This is humbling. This is my legacy. See, that's the bond. That's the bond. That's the bond she created. So there must have been something interesting going on. Where were you going?
I was coming here.
Oh, here. Oh, here. What else? See, you're saying for the past week,
Yeah. No,
there were signs of tension. What did you notice?
Over the weekend, I've been thinking about my mother, some stuff that had come up in conversation from last week when I was here, and talking about mothers and replaying scenarios of different things that had occurred, and it came as dealing with the reality of some real, if not mental illness, real emotional illness on that side of the family, and remembering that my grandmother had been taken away by guys in white coats and given electric shock treatment, and remembering all the things that were said about that side of the family and how all the women were insane, and I started thinking about my perception of myself and who I am and how I define myself and how I feel I'm perceived as by others, and how people do perceive me, and how I talk and how I think, and everything I feel like has gone through a filter of that insanity. That's so that's what has been going on.
That's good. That's good.
And it was very upsetting. I spent a couple of days very upset over some of the stuff that came to mind, and angry.
Our culture locks up what we can't understand. That's our culture. Right? We want to lock up what we don't understand, whether it's criminal behavior or mental or emotional problems. We want to lock them up. We want to get rid of them. We want to confine them. We want to put them in jail. We want to put them in confinement.
Right.
So therefore, the image that you have of someone who may be called emotionally unstable, crazy, insane, all of these things have terrible images that go back to the 18th, 17th centuries in a terrible period. But the real question is, all it takes is a couple of talks. Doesn't it? That takes a talks. Or maybe 50. It doesn't matter, because once you get into this, you recover, don't you? You recover parts of a higher self.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? Right. What is it? This little reflection, I spent an hour on it. What does it do? We took a little scene, lost my keys.
And we pulled it all apart and exposed it to the sunlight, and it just...
And what happened to the storm clouds?
It does. It feels dissipated. It doesn't...
See, what's lovely about this is that you show at 8 and 9 a great insight. These are very fine statements to make. You saw it all. So then, now see whether we can go now and take a look at this. It looks like, therefore, as we're gaining insight into ourselves, we can expect what we call a counterattack. This is a counterattack, to pull you back into it. That's right. It's always there. It's always there. Right? The signs that you're growing means you're going to then face these counterattacks. Oh, let me see if I can put it this way, all right? To have a problem means that someone, and we're very clever, people are very clever. You see, you have to design something so that there are no windows or doors. If there was any way she would allow you to escape from this relationship, you would have taken it. So all the subtle ways in which she bars all of the ways you can get out of that, you now have to face. And see that they weren't really bars on the windows at all. You could have pushed them open. But she had it some way, you see, close up all the windows, nail all the doors and windows shut, no escape, then that's your reality. That's your legacy. See, that's your legacy. This is what you are. That's what she's trying to tell you. So one of the great signs of growing is that you're facing counterattacks. This is a counterattack to try to pull you back into it. That's wonderful. Sorry. Yeah. Is she around?
Yes.
Nearby?
No, she's downstate.
Christmas approachable?
No.
No? Okay. All right. If so, I have a great piece of advice. Just watch. Just look. Don't change anything. Just look. Whatever happens, just look.
Thank you.
Any questions around for this one?
Did they ever quit counterattacking you?
Yep, there are only a finite number of them. There are only a finite number of them. Oh yeah, there are only a finite number. You can map them out. You can map them all out.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
If people would keep their talks, as I sometimes try to tell them, put them on butcher paper, you know, and put them on the wall, you know, put them around, or on a disk, a computer disk, better on the wall, and just sit and look at them, right, and see the unity. They all have a unity. They have a unity, they have a beauty to it, though it's difficult at first to see the beauty. But an intricacy, they all fit together. Right, they're crafting, there's great skill in it, has multiple levels. So therefore, hey, there's action, that's a challenge. Pulls us back. So, what do we want to do? We want to see what we wrote, right? What we painted, the song, right? The argument, the drama, right? Naming it, finding out why it's occurring now, pick up the keys, right? Reconstruct it. We have some fun. Now, if we missed a couple of ideas here, all right, the degree to which this is not as accurate as it should be, it will persist to that degree. So successive talks bring to it a greater degree of clarity and precision. You've expected. And through this, there is a different kind of growth to understanding, isn't it? Different kind of understanding. More artful. This is all artful. It's the arts. So, thank you very much for volunteering this evening. Good, good, good. Good.
This story just continues. You could take it back generations and generations and generations and
Oh,
generations,
definitely.
generations and generations.
As you said, hey, as echoes back to your grandmother.
Yes.
Really, I've worked with people who were able to bring in to talks their grandparents, who could remember their grandparents, and you could see the same thing going down through 5 generations, the same game, the same drama, the same terms.
It brought to mind when you said last year that you're absolutely convinced that the reason people, it was really quite a blanket statement, but you were basically saying people get married so that they can continue this.
Oh yes, pick
They
out
have
someone.
families, so they can-
Pick out someone out of a vast audience that will exactly fit the game. And leave everyone else behind as unimportant. And they'll also be able to know which ones, however, might be their most interesting challenge and avoid them. Yep, that's us. Good, okay, thank you.
Thank you.